Well, I think you guys are set up pretty well to go to cloud. When there's some things I think about for an organization that's going to start to look towards going to the cloud, is obviously security is a big one, compliance, but having a robust internet connection. And shockingly, in my mind, out here in kind of a more rural area, you guys have actually a pretty robust fiber internet connectivity, which is really great, and it sets you guys up really well to have really high uptime to those cloud type environment, which I know is massively a massive requirement for you guys.
Right, absolutely. And with your guys' help with our wireless backhaul, we have a
redundant network.
Yeah,
right?
we have a failover as well.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So pretty neat stuff. Yeah. I can think back too. I mean, previous leadership, obviously family leadership, was like, hey, we got to keep everything in house. We don't want to have our data be out online. And personally too, being in the IT business, in IT for 24 years. I'm not one that's actually like a bleeding edge type guy. So I've had some of those reservations as well. I mean, just internally at our organization, we were a little more reserved in adopting some cloud technologies. And that's just primarily from a support org perspective, right? It seems like the more bleeding edge type IT stuff, there's always going to be more support, right? And so I've got to think across our base of partners, like how, if we start to push that direction, what's that impact going to be? Not only from an internal impact perspective, but the end user type of frustration and whatnot. And my opinion now is that things are starting to become pretty mature.
Yeah, and the transition seems to be a lot more seamless as well, which is kind of cool to take advantage of. Yeah, especially with such a mobile workforce. We have people working out of Chicago, out of LA, at home.
Sure.
Thanks to COVID, everything has had to go that way.
Kind of fast forwarded everything. Right.
Yeah. So being able to connect anywhere in the world has been almost an immediate need. Starting March 2020, right around there. Right.
Sure. Yeah.
So leveraging that a little bit more as we go on is a big initiative of ours. A recent initiative was, getting our backups in a more secure location, which you guys helped us out with.
Great.
So that's been really fantastic to see.
Yeah.
With all the breaches that happen, you hear that people will to look at your backups first, corrupt those, and then go after you.
Absolutely, yeah. It seems like the new trend these days is not only to ransomware or encrypt the computer systems, obviously the backup systems, then there's also this data exfiltration thing, which is, seems to be a newer trend in the last few years. But it's always great to have your backups in a spot that, okay, I can always go back to that data pretty rapidly. Right. And it makes me think in my mind, like, why did it take so long for the MGM folks to get back online? And I know obviously their network's probably pretty massive, but makes me wonder potentially, and we won't ever hear about it, but did their backup infrastructure become compromised potentially, as an example, right?
Maybe.
So to take multiple weeks to roll back, doesn't seem to be a good business strategy, right? Or IT recovery strategy. So.
Right, and being in a small business, we can't afford. We don't have $100 million to.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think anyone has $1 million that they just want to give away.
That's right. Yeah.
So it's user education on our part, and help your guys' help as well to figure out how best to leverage that, how best to educate our users that one click can really, really be damaging.
That's right. Yeah, it sure can, and that's like 60+% of most breaches come in through an email. So
yeah, it's just insanity.
Yeah. So protecting that component. Doing user education, as you mentioned, through maybe security awareness training, these kinds of things, get you to 60%, and then obviously you're doing lots of protection on the workstations, the more advanced protection on the workstations. We're doing that on the servers and all the network infrastructure and firewalls and all of that now, and continuing to stay up on what's the current, the current solution, so that we make sure that we're keeping things as secured for the current threats, right?
Right, and it's always changing, almost seems month to month.
It is. It's always changing.
Right.
I can't add enough bodies to keep up with the pace. It just seems like things are just at rapid speed.
Yeah, funny not funny, right?
Yeah, funny not funny, yeah. So back to cloud just a little bit. We're starting to do more with the 365 cloud. email, maybe start to look into doing some file sharing inside the cloud now.
Yeah.
You talked about having your remote users, so that would be a cool functionality for them, so they could move away from maybe traditional VPNs as an example. So adopting more of the Microsoft stack, you know, good old Microsoft. You know, embrace it or don't, right?
But the subscription model just irks me
a
little bit, but
everything's
just kind
going
of the way
that,
of the industry, and
it
it's,
is.
you know, when you factor in, like you've said to me, you factor in the hardware costs and the cooling costs and the power.
Sure.
You know,
refreshing equipment over the years, right?
Yeah, and then replace that with just a subscription model. It's, you know, more, but it's not a ton more when you really dive into it.
Yeah.
And just the leverage that you can get in terms of, you know, being able to connect anywhere in the world without a traditional VPN.
Yeah.
You know, it can be a lot more secure. Can be, you know,
you can lock that border down, which is great, right?
Right.
You can make that machine look like it's not even online anymore.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's definite benefit.
And simpler for the end user. So it's all around pretty good idea.
That's right.
When I first started too, we had a whole bunch of physical servers, and we migrated to a VM environment.
Sure.
Thanks to you guys, obviously.
Yeah.
So
that all virtualized, slimmed down onto less equipment.
Yeah, and you know, and then it was, you know, it was actually a cost savings to us. It was way easier to manage. You know, our uptime is quite a bit more.
Yeah.
We had one of our ignition servers that, you know, we brought back to our main building.
Good.
And it's even more redundant than it was before in a smarter way.
Oh, great.
And saved us a ton of money. So saved us a ton of uptime too.
Sure.
So every time, I don't know if you remember the double take servers that, you know, every time they'd swap over, they would never swap back.
Yes.
So it would cause us downtime just, you know, to go back to normal. And now, you know, people don't even notice. Like, we'll notice because we'll get the alerts about it. But
that's awesome.
You know, it's been kind of cool to go again to my senior management and say, you know, here's the downtime that we had, you know, this last month. And by the way, you guys didn't even notice it.
Yeah, that's really great.
We had all these redundancies, all these, you know, things in place that we paid money for.
Yeah,
but
sure.
It's keeping us running.
They translate the uptime piece like to money, right? If your IT infrastructure in this large of a company is down for, you know, a few hours a day or even longer,
that's huge.
You know, that's huge.